In the summer of 1191, under a sky white with heat and the smell of blood, a knight named Sir Aldric de Voss stood in the ruins of what had once been his faith. He had crossed the sea for God. He had buried brothers in foreign sand. He had survived sieges, fever, and the scream of Saracen cavalry. But nothing, not the swords of the enemy, not the desert sun, would destroy him the way a single man did. A man he had called brother. Aldric de Voss was not a noble by birth. He was the second son of a minor lord in Normandy, the kind of man the church loved to send east. Men with nothing to lose and everything to prove. He had taken the cross at 22, stitched the red symbol onto his surcoat himself, and sailed from Marseille alongside 300 others who believed they were chosen by God. Among them was Sir Conrad of Reims, older, wealthier, charming in the way that dangerous men often are. Conrad had the smile of a confessor and the instincts of a merchant. He claimed to have fought in 2 prior campaigns. He told stories that made men laugh around the fire and forget how far from home they were. Aldric trusted him completely. The siege of Acre had been grinding for nearly 2 years by the time they arrived. The city's walls had swallowed thousands of lives. Dysentery and heat killed as many men as arrows. But Richard of England had arrived that summer, and with him came the brutal efficiency that would crack the city open like a walnut. It was during the siege that Aldric first noticed something wrong with Conrad. Small things, whispered conversations that ended when Aldric approached. A sealed letter that Conrad claimed was from his sister in France. Gold coins that appeared without explanation. The night before the final assault on the eastern gate, Aldric could not sleep. He walked the perimeter of the Crusader camp, past rows of sleeping men, past the mounded graves of those who had not survived the summer. That is when he saw Conrad slipping beyond the torchlight, moving toward the city walls. Aldric followed. What he witnessed in the darkness between the armies would not leave him for the rest of his life. Conrad met with a Saracen officer beneath the wall, not in combat, not as a prisoner. As a business partner. Plans changed hands. Gold changed hands. The location of the weakest point in the Crusader line. The patrol schedule. The names of commanders who would lead the dawn assault. Conrad had been selling information to Saladin's forces for months. Aldric did not act immediately. He should have. He told himself he needed proof that no one would believe a landless Norman over a knight of Conrad's reputation. But the truth was simpler and darker. He could not yet accept what he had seen. The human mind is slow to destroy what it has loved. He went to the camp commander, a Flemish lord named Baron Gerhardt, and reported what he had witnessed. Gerhardt listened. Then Gerhardt sent him away. That night, Aldric's tent was searched. His weapons were confiscated. He was told he would stand trial for spreading false accusations against a knight of Christ. Conrad had not merely betrayed the crusade. He had made friends in both camps. And Baron Gerhardt, it turned out, had been sharing in the profits. The dawn assault came at first light. 300 men charged the eastern gate using the route Aldric had seen Conrad hand over in the dark. They were met with a wall of arrows. The ambush was perfect. 60 men died in the first minute. Aldric, unarmed and under guard, heard the screams from inside his tent. He broke the wrist of his guard, took the man's dagger, and ran toward the breach. He found Conrad at the edge of the camp, saddled, ready to ride east toward the Saracen lines. The knight turned when he heard footsteps. For a moment, neither man moved. "You were never supposed to follow me," Conrad said. Not an apology, not fear, just a statement of fact, as if Aldric had made an administrative error. What followed was not a duel. Aldric had a dagger. Conrad had a sword. It was brief, violent, and ugly in the way that real violence always is nothing like the tournaments Conrad had described back home in France. Aldric took a cut across the ribs. Conrad took a dagger through the throat. He died in the mud outside the camp he had sold, with gold still in the pouch at his belt. Baron Gerhardt was arrested 3 days later, when King Richard's own investigators began to ask why 60 men had walked into a perfect ambush. Gerhardt was hanged. Conrad's name was struck from the rolls of the crusade as if he had never existed. Aldric de Voss returned to Normandy in 1193. He never spoke publicly about what he had done at Acre, not the killing, not the betrayal he had witnessed. He founded a small monastery on his family's land and lived there until his death at an old age, which was, in those times, a rare enough miracle. He left behind one document, a short letter, unsealed, addressed to no one. It read, I did not go to the Holy Land to find God. I went to find purpose. I found only that men carry their corruption with them across every sea, into every holy place, under every sacred banner. The Crusades did not create Conrad of Rheims. They simply gave him a grander stage. If you want more stories from the darkest corners of the medieval world, stories of betrayal, ambition, and survival, subscribe. There are many more where this came from.